So in this next video we're going to be looking at who can become foster carers in Camden. The short answer is that pretty much anybody can apply to become a foster carer. There are a lot of myths circulating around reasons that people might discredit themselves. Most of those aren't true. So you don't have to own your own home to be a foster carer. You don't have to have previously had your own children. You don't need to be in a relationship. You can be applying as a single applicant, but if you are a couple, you can be a same-sex couple or a mixed-sex couple. None of the things I've just mentioned would disqualify you from applying to be a foster carer. So if you're renting, we would just be looking to check that that's stable with your tenancy. If you don't have your own children, then we would just want to know that you do have a level of childcare experience, whether that's professionally or through caring for nieces, nephews, godchildren, neighbours' children. And if you're applying as a single applicant, that's fine, but we'd want to check that you have got quite a robust support network in place to help you out, because fostering is a very demanding role. So children in Camden come from a really diverse range of backgrounds, and so it's important that we've got foster carers from an equally as diverse range of backgrounds, so that we can try and match children and foster carers from similar cultural or religious backgrounds to help them feel more at home. So as it says here, we welcome applicants from all sections of the community and all ethnic and religious groups. So having said that basically anybody can apply, I'm now going to qualify that slightly with a few requirements. So generally speaking, to be a foster carer, you need to have a spare bedroom for the child so that they can have their own space in your home. So it's not appropriate for children, for foster children, to be sharing a bedroom with any children of your own that you might have. They need to have their own space in your home. The exception to the requirement of needing a spare bedroom is if you're caring for babies, because they can be in a cot in your bedroom. So we do have some carers in Camden who we call baby carers, who are just approved to look after that 0 to 2 age group. And if that's your situation, you don't have a spare room, that's fine to apply for babies, but obviously you need to bear in mind that you wouldn't be able to be working at the same time as caring for a baby, because that's just not possible. You need to be there for them because they're not at school, and you'd also need to demonstrate that you've got a good level of experience of looking after that 0 to 2 age group. You need to be over 25 and living in the UK, obviously. And then there are a number of different checks that we would get you to do as part of your application process. So that includes a police check through the Disclosure Barring Service, a medical check with your doctor. We do a local authority check, so if you live in Camden, we would see if there's any records held by Camden Social Services or other services about you that we might need to consider in terms of your suitability to be a foster carer. You don't have to live in Camden, so if you live in a different borough, we would get in touch with them. And then we would get you to provide people to give references about your suitability and ability to care for children. So when you think about who to put forward as references, think about people that have seen you interacting with children and can talk about that. Just mentioned here ex-partners. So if you've had any significant relationships, particularly if they've resulted in children, but you're no longer in that relationship, ideally we would like to speak to that ex-partner, because they are very well placed to talk about your ability to look after children if for a period of time you were raising children together. We understand that in some circumstances that's completely not appropriate, maybe around the reasons why you're no longer in that relationship, and some people just lose touch and maybe the relationship was 30 years ago and you've got no way of contacting them. That's fine, but it's just something to bear in mind. It will be brought up further down the application process if you do have any people in that category and if you would be happy for them to be contacted. mention smoking here as well. So there's quite strict national guidelines on smoking. If you want to care for children between the age of 0 and 5, it's an absolute no-no, zero tolerance policy. So you can't smoke, not even just outside. There cannot be any smokers in your household if you want to care for 0 to 5-year-olds, and that's because of the really high risk from passive smoking for children, particularly children whose lungs are still developing at that age. If you're caring for older children, so kind of 5 and up to 18, and you smoke, that's not a deal breaker, but we would have to have quite detailed conversations about what that would look like. So you wouldn't be able to smoke in the home or in your car, and we would be encouraging you to think about quitting as well. And with all of these checks, there are a lot of them, and it can feel like there's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump over in the process of applying to be a foster carer. We're really not trying to catch people out. I said at the beginning of the first video that we are desperate for more foster carers. So this isn't about making it an impossible task, but we do need to have a really good understanding of who you are, and be confident that you are capable of looking after vulnerable children to a good level. So my advice to you with all of these checks would just be to be honest. You might think, oh gosh, I had this awful thing happen, or that awful thing happen, or I'm taking this medication, or I have this caution on my DBS. It's not necessarily a problem at all. If there have been significant things that have happened, we would just want to talk about them and to understand how those things happened, why they happened, and what you've learned from them. So say you've maybe had a lot of bereavements and you think, oh gosh, I wonder if that's going to be a problem. Not necessarily at all. If you can show actually how you were able to come through that, how you were able to seek support if you were going through a bit of a low period, that actually is very positive, because it demonstrates you know how to take care of yourself, and probably that you've come out the other side a more resilient person. And resilience is a really, really important characteristic for foster carers. Likewise with the medical check and the DBS, if there are things that you think are going to come up on those, it's helpful if you can let us know in advance so we can be talking about them. With the medical, we're not looking for Olympic athletes, we're looking for people that are fit and healthy enough to keep up with children. So if you've got a really bad back and you want to care for babies, we might just want to talk about the suitability of that, where babies require a lot more physical care than, say, a teenager. But if you've got any questions on this aspect of the process and the different checks that you have to go through, then do please get in touch.